This video is from the book Prevent and Reverse Hypertension by me, Pete Rogers. We're on from the first chapter, figure 113. Sodium is a vasoconstrictor, meaning that it takes the artery and it narrows its diameter. That's vasoconstriction. Vaso, blood vessel, constrict to narrow. So here would be a normal diameter of blood flow, with the red being arterial lumen where the blood flows. A dilated artery, vasodilation, has a bigger diameter. Vasoconstriction is narrow. What narrows it? Sodium will do that. It inhibits endothelial nitric oxide synthase, so you get less nitric oxide. Tobacco will cause vasoconstriction. Cold weather will cause vasoconstriction. Uric acid will cause vasoconstriction. Sympathetic autonomic nervous system, meaning adrenaline, noradrenaline, when you're stressed out, when you're drinking caffeine, when you're sleep deprived, all of those things. Diabetes with chronic persistent hyperglycemia, that'll lead to release of endothelin, which is the opposite of nitric oxide, causing vasoconstriction. Okay, those are just some of the things, all right? Being warm, exercising, vasodilation, potassium, magnesium from plants, vasodilation, plant nitrates, precursors of nitric oxide, cause vasodilation. Everything in your body works better with good blood flow. So you want to know what causes arteries to open up. Here's a great book, biography of Walter Kempner. Walter Kempner's publication, his own writings, are available at Dr. Kempner's website, drmcdougall.com, Dr. McDougall's website. And you just go to Kempner's book. You want to read the second one. The first one's in German. The second one is in English. And you can see all of Kempner's work. Kempner's work was extraordinary. He was feeding patients only about 3% of calories, 3 or 4% of calories, 3% of calories from fat and about 4% of calories from protein. It's extraordinary. And the reason I tell you about this is because a lot of people say to me, oh, how come you're so hardline, about low fat and stuff. And I'm like, because that's what all the data shows. Kempner's curing all these patients left and right with a low fat diet that's basically white rice and fruits and then a vitamin, okay, a multivitamin, okay, and that cured congestive heart failure, coronary artery disease, diabetes, hypertension, saved a lot of kidney failure patients. Then, Dr. McDougall and Nathan Pritikin do a similar diet and they get incredibly good results. And then you look around at the epidemiology where they're eating these really low-fat, starch-based, plant-based diets, and people are skinny and healthy with no hypertension, no diabetes, no coronary artery disease. 1929 paper in the Lancet, by Donison. 1,800 consecutive adult black men in Kenya. Zero hypertension. No one else has anything in that ballpark. Okay, and then, personal experience. I've tried this diet. I've been doing it for many years. It works. It keeps you skinny. It keeps your blood pressure good, your cholesterol good. It's like, what more do you want? You found the answer. The migration studies show it. The epidemiology studies show it. Kempner's work shows it. McDougall's, Pritikin's, Esselstyn's, and other research studies shows there it is. And so all this new BS, some new BS artist comes along and says, oh, olive oil is good for you, nuts and seeds are good for you, all this nonsense. And then the other thing is nowadays there's this whole modern push to try to feminize everybody with soy and flax. It's like, get out of here. We don't want your crap, all right? So anyways, I tell you that because, most people are mentally weak and they cave into all this stuff and they end up fat, sick, stupid, and feminized, okay? That's what happens if you don't have a brain in your head and you don't study a little bit of this history. It's not rocket science. You don't need anything fancy. It's like be like Adam and Eve, Genesis 1:29. Eat the plant foods, low-fat plant foods, and you'll be healthy. As healthy as you're going to be. Okay, quote by McDougall, Kempner is the father of modern diet therapy. Let's call him the grandfather, call McDougall the father, okay? Creator of the rice diets. Kempner's diet is the diet for the nearly dead. It's pretty rough to eat Kempner's diet. It's boring. McDougall's diet is for healthier people, okay? So it's just white rice, fruits, fruit juices, multivitamin. For patients who needed more calories, he let them just have table sugar because he wanted to give them something without any nitrogen in it and without any sodium in it. No sodium because he had a lot of hypertension patients. No nitrogen because he had a lot of kidney failure patients. So his diet here was 93% carbohydrate, 2.5% fat. You see that? 2.5% fat. That's incredibly low in fat. 2.5% of fat. A lot of people are trying to tell me you need 25% fat or you need 15% fat. That's nonsense. You can do very well with only 2.5% calories from fat. Pritikin quoted studies where people eating less than 1% of calories from fat, 0.75% calories from fat. People do just fine on that. Okay, to liven things up a little bit, going from the Kempner diet to the McDougall diet or the Spartan vegan diet or the Esselstyn diet, you can eat a wider variety of starches like potatoes, sweet potatoes, oatmeal, quinoa, carrots, and the grains, wheat, millet, all that stuff. Kempner had incredible results for reversing all the chronic Western diseases. I've made other videos about Kempner. McDougall's made videos about Kempner. Dr. McDougall has a whole newsletter on him, has his publications there. That book I just showed was his biography by Barbara Newborg, who was a lady doctor who had worked with him for many years. And she basically said the exact same thing and showed all these pictures of reversing hypertensive retinopathy, diabetic retinopathy, congestive heart failure, coronary artery disease, autoimmune disease. Extraordinary. And here's a great book by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. And Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn has the best long-term follow-up results for anyone for the treatment of coronary artery disease due to atherosclerosis. Dr. Esselstyn says his patients who followed his low-fat vegan diet had none of them ever had a recurrent cardiovascular event. In his paper, he reported one, but he says that patient out of like 198, but he said that patient didn't actually follow the diet. Okay, so you've got the answer. You don't need to look any farther. It's right there. Okay, I actually think though Esselstyn maybe went off the deep end a little bit with this recommendation for flax. I never heard him provide a good reason for it. I've seen some of his videos and he said things like, well, it provides fiber, it provides omega-3s. But we get enough omega-3s from eating other plant foods that are low-fat. We get more than enough fiber from other low-fat plant foods. We really don't need flax at all. Flax contains some cyanogenic chemicals that can produce a little cyanide. And even though people will tell you it's a minimal amount, I don't want any. Okay, and it's very high in fat. Flax is like 60% of calories from fat. I think Esselstyn got pressured. He's the best guy in the world for preventing atherosclerosis, but he hasn't studied flax as much as he should, in my opinion, because I don't think it's a health food at all. It's estrogenic, cyanogenic, obesogenic. I would never eat flax. I would never eat soy either. It's also super fat, estrogenic, goitrogenic. Who needs all that crap? And routinely sprayed with glyphosate, processed with hexane if it's non-organic, etc. Here's Dr. Esselstyn's paper. This is from the July 2014 article in the Journal of Family Practice. And he wrote a way to reverse coronary artery disease. Okay, 198 consecutive patient volunteers that he followed up. 89% stuck with the diet. And only one person had a recurrent event. And he claims that person didn't follow the diet. Okay, but that's pretty extraordinary. Okay, here's a paper by Baxter Montgomery, the cardiologist. He put a patient on a plant-based diet, and their ejection fraction went up from 22% to 42%. So that's reversal of congestive heart failure. You'd like your ejection fraction to be like up around 55%, and higher. So that's pretty extraordinary. And how many patients was this? This was 3 patients who reversed congestive heart failure. There's also a cardiologist by the name of Olsted. Here he is, Robert Olsted. He's from New York, like Montefiore Hospital, and he also showed reversal of congestive heart failure by putting patients on a vegan diet. For him, it was for 6 weeks. For Montgomery, how long was it? Did he have him on that for? An average of 2.7 months. So in less than 3 months, reversed congestive heart failure with a vegan diet. And in this one, in less than 2 months, in 6 weeks, he got their ejection fraction to go up from 35% to 50%. That's pretty extraordinary. So, it's just a confirmation of what, Kempner had shown and the experience of Pritikin and McDougall as well. Oh, and then we talked about what's the key to controlling your high blood pressure. It's eat a high K factor. Keep your K factor at a minimum of 5, preferably really at a minimum of 10. And we talked about this. If you eat the fruits are super high in K factor. They're typically like about 100 to 500. Bananas have a K factor of 450. K factor is the ratio of potassium to sodium. And like I said, you'd like it about 10 or higher. Richard Moore used to write 5 or higher, but he didn't know much about diet, and it's easy to get it 10 or higher, so why not go for that? Starches, I think you're more likely to be success, because he himself was trying to keep it above 5, and intermittently his blood pressure wasn't as great as he wanted it to be. But there's lots of papers showing this. Here's a K factor, starch. Starches have a K factor of about 20 to about 100. Some steel cut oats go to 160, but in general 20 to 100 or so. Okay, so that'll help you prevent high blood pressure and reverse high blood pressure. Veggies are a little less effective compared to other plant foods in terms of their K factor, but they also have more nitric oxide precursors. They got more nitrates, like arugula, for example. They'll have K factors in this ballpark here of around, 5 to 15. Even meat's not that bad. Like ground beef has a K factor of 4. At least it's a whole food, but potentially somewhat whole food. I don't eat ground beef at all. I'm 100% vegan. But anyways, these processed foods are terrible. Soy burger, K factor 1.6. So anything below 4 I would consider terrible, okay? Cheerios 1.2, Cheetos 1.14, well less than 1. Potato chips 0.9, Special K cereal 0.06. These are terrible K factor numbers. So anyways, that's the big secret, and that's why blacks have so much hypertension, because they don't eat enough potassium and magnesium. So there's your answer. Millions of people die every year because they don't know that. So it's not just the sodium, it's the ratio of potassium to sodium. And potassium is high in the plant foods because the whole plant food, potassium is an intracellular ion. And when you eat the intracellular ion, you get the potassium because you eat the whole food. It's all sitting there inside the cell. And when you process a food, you grind it, and then they rinse it with water and solvents, and they rinse away all the potassium and magnesium. Then they put salt on it to make it taste better and as a preservative. So the processed foods are high in sodium, low in potassium and magnesium. Okay, a normal food though will have tons of potassium and very little sodium. So that's a big secret of how you can pick out foods that prevent hypertension. Okay, that's it for today. I hope that was helpful.